This little girl was abducted, R-worded, and then buried alive. 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford lived in Florida with her dad and her grandparents after her parents separated. She had an absolutely wonderful childhood. She was adored by her parents, by her grandparents. She had big aspirations. She did really well at school. She was just such a loved child. Every single night without fail, Jessica went to bed with a stuffed animal and her nightlight on because she was scared of the dark, and it was no different on the night of the 23rd of February 2005. She told her dad that she loved him, she had a bath, she went to bed as she normally did, and then her dad left to go and stay at his girlfriend's house, but obviously she lived with her grandparents as well, so her grandma was there to look after her. Mark came home from his girlfriend's house at about 5:45 a.m. because he had work early that morning. Jessica's alarm also used to go off really early on the morning to get ready for school, so when he got home and he heard her alarm still going off, he went into her bedroom just assuming that she'd slept through it, but when he went in there, she was nowhere to be seen. She had vanished. As well as Jessica being missing, one of her favourite stuffed animals that her dad had won her at a fair had also gone missing. It was a purple stuffed dolphin. The police were called pretty much immediately and an investigation begins. The family got ruled out pretty early on in the investigation, and then everything just turned to getting Jessica's face out there to see if anybody knew anything. Hundreds of volunteers searched the local area. They scoured everywhere that they possibly could, but they never found anything. So then the police decided to check the sex offenders register and see if anybody local around them was part of the register. That was when the name John Cooey came up. John Cooey was in his 40s at the time. He had an extensive criminal past already, and he was living just across from Jessica in a trailer with some of his family. Even though he technically wasn't supposed to be there, his registered address was actually somewhere else. And obviously if you're on the sex offenders register, you need to know where you are living. Police need to know where you are, and he wasn't at his registered address. He was at his family's address just opposite from Jessica. On the 14th of March, police go around to John's trailer. This is actually the second time that they've gone to John's trailer. The first time they went, they had a quick look around, but they didn't find anything. They were very brief in their first original search. The second time they go into the bedroom that John's staying in, and they find that his mattress is blood-soaked. Obviously, the mattress gets taken away for testing, and John's face is put out on the news everywhere because they actually couldn't find him. He wasn't staying there. He'd left the trailer shortly after Jessica's disappearance, and he ended up being found miles and miles away in Georgia. As soon as he was located, he was taken in for questioning, and he agreed to do a polygraph test, but before the results even came back, he asked to speak to the investigators. He apologises for wasting police time, he gives a full confession, and he also tells them where they can find Jessica's body. He explains that he'd actually seen Jessica playing outside earlier, and he had then decided to break into her house for a burglary. He said that he didn't intend to take Jessica, but that he just saw the opportunity once he'd broken into the house. He also said that he allowed Jessica to take a stuffed animal with her, which is when she picked the dolphin to take. He told her to be quiet, and he then took her from her house over to his trailer where he kept her in his bedroom. He essayed her that night. She then slept in the bed. He essayed her again in the morning and then got her to get into the cupboard in his bedroom while he went out to do a day's work the next day. She did as she was told, and she stayed quiet in the cupboard for the whole day because she was scared of what he was going to do. She would be alive in that cupboard for a total of 3 days, and John even tells the police that the first time they went round to the house, Jessica was alive in the cupboard, and if they had done a thorough search and opened that cupboard door, they would have found her. After a few days, John said that he had to get rid of Jessica because he knew his days were numbered. He knew the police were on to him, so that is when he decided to take her life. So he dug a hole outside, he put Jessica inside 2 plastic bags, and then he buried her alive. When the police uncovered her, they found that her wrists had been tied and she was actually holding on to the purple stuffed dolphin that her dad had won for her. It also was confirmed that it would have taken her at least 5 minutes to pass from suffocation. Also, the police found that Jessica had managed to poke 2 of her fingers through one of the plastic bags as she desperately tried to save herself. John was then charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, sexual battery of a child under 12 and burglary. Despite confessing to this, he actually pled not guilty. The trial actually got very, very messy because the police hadn't followed the protocol that they should have done. So John had asked for a lawyer early on, but the police had carried on probing him and carried on asking him questions, but that was when the confession came about. So because the protocol wasn't followed, it was then deemed by the judge that the confession was inadmissible in court. Luckily though, there was a lot of evidence in this trial already, including the blood-soaked mattress, his semen, which was also linked into it all, and her fingerprints were found inside his bedroom. So in March 2007, John Cooey would be found guilty and he would be sentenced to death. However, he would pass away from natural causes in prison just 2 years later.